Are we?
Live on Facebook.
Proof is in the
We
pudding.
are live on Facebook.
Let's
We are
see.
live on YouTube. Let's go see what we got here.
Yep.
Weird thing is
All
our
is well.
chat thing is not. It is not properly working right now.
Well, you got a minute to get it right.
Let's close the dockable menu. Let's see what we have here. Chat. Come on, chat. Here we go. We're good. Hooray, it says. All right. Welcome
We're
to
up and running.
Talking Toast.
It is Tuesday night, 8:28, right when we start. So now's the time,
Yeah.
toasters, to grab a friend, grab a drink, and grab.
Your friend's drink,
Don't grab your friend's drink.
unless you're going to bring it to your friend.
Can we move this?
Yeah,
Does this need to be up?
you can exit out.
Okay.
Why did you? I'm just kidding.
Oh,
It's been that
man.
kind of day.
It's good to see everybody. Today is the Mondayest Tuesday I've ever experienced.
Yes. It is the
so
Monday's
it
Tuesday.
is.
Is it working?
Yeah. Tuesday I've ever experienced.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And it's such a Monday, Tuesday that we had to hear that line again.
That's right. I'm going to put Monday, Tuesday on the thing.
Oh
Yes.
man! So we do Talking Toast to draw back the curtain on the creative process. These are conversations that we would have ourselves anyway, probably in the car. So we're just kind of letting you into this conversation, but we really want you to chime in. And so maybe start by chiming in with where you're joining us from tonight. And so maybe chime in. Yeah, so let us know where you're watching from tonight. We it looks like it's sometimes we ask you to let us know the weather.
Yeah.
And it looks like
Some clouds are rolling in.
Yeah.
Is what the person said in the radio, on the radio, in the car,
in the radio.
in the radio.
There's a person that lives in your
There's
radio.
a person in the radio.
You need to let them out. It's in the rental car though. That's Kia's problem.
Lord.
Yes,
Yeah.
I still have my rental car. No, I don't know what's wrong with my car.
It's okay. Kia doesn't either.
Oh,
man.
Lord. So, we start every week by asking the same question, and it's quite simple. The question is, what is sustaining you? What is the thing that's getting you by? What is the thing that gives you life in the midst of the Kia dealership not knowing what's going on with your car? And let us know, chime in. This stays on Facebook and YouTube into perpetuity.
Yeah.
And so we check it, and into perpetuity, hopefully we're able to check it.
We'll check it forever.
And
Because YouTube will be forever.
we'll check it as long as we can. Yeah, so chime in, and the chat is waiting.
That's right. That's right. And normally, parents would be watching this.
But
and,
they're not.
Yeah, your parents are on the road again. On the road again. They're Willie Nelsoning it on the road again.
Yep.
I just
and
can't wait to get on the road again.
because we have graduation this week.
We do. And
We
I
are
think
officially becoming the Reverend Doctors.
we are.
Reverends, Doctors? I don't know.
Yeah. And then, yeah, and
We're
my
gonna-
parents are here upstairs putting our child to bed.
We're going to demand that everyone calls us Reverend Doctor all the time. Just call me
Yes.
Reverend Doctor.
Yeah.
Although I did tell the Kia guy when he talked down, speaking of Kia, when he talked down to me last Friday, he said, well, Mrs. Calloway. And I said, it's actually Dr. Calloway. Mostly because he was annoying me.
Yeah. So
So there's that. So, all of that to say, what is sustaining you? What is sustaining you, John?
there's a huge horsefly in here.
Holy
Oh,
Nope.
Yeah.
I'm going to take care of this.
All right. I'll say what is sustaining me then. There is probably a shoe. Would you like my shoe? Yeah. This ought to be good. So yeah.
Nothing can go wrong
Are
here.
you standing up? On.
Oh shoot!
Katie. You
Where'd
gotta
it
come
go?
up from underneath.
I did. Everything is up from
No.
underneath over here. I think I hit it.
I don't think you did. I think you're about to fall out of a chair. I didn't know you were going to stand on a chair.
How did you think I was gonna get it?
You can reach the ceiling.
Can I?
Yes. You don't have to stand on the floor. Oh
Just
man.
another day in paradise. I have 4 degrees in theology, not engineering. I need, in my mind, if one is going to touch the ceiling, one needs a chair to stand on. And thus, I pulled the chair that also only has 3 wheels. Maybe it has 4.
I think it has
Yeah,
4.
it has 4 most days. But it's not the steadiest of chairs. That
It was
horsefly is
free.
going to regret coming down here.
I can't think of where I was or when we were in the thing. I think you asked me what's sustaining
Yeah, what's
me.
sustaining you?
Victoria.
I'm glad we're
Tori.
making someone laugh.
Tori is laughing. That's good. I love how you said, I can't touch the ceiling, can I? I was like, you remember painting the ceiling?
I do remember. But we had spray guns. We
I
had
know, but you can touch the ceiling. Oh man.
life.
Went to the music store today for a minute.
Yeah.
Picked up a music stand. I've been figuring out
Was it a music stand or a mic stand?
a microphone stand. Thank you. That was very kind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you were in the music stand section.
I
I
was.
noticed you were looking at some violins.
I was looking
over
at
there.
violins.
And I picked up a microphone stand so that I can be able to do some looping. I'm gonna try my
Yeah.
best Ed Sheeran impression. And I'm kind of excited
This
about
guy
it.
got a loop pedal,
I did for a graduation present.
which
from-
is from your sugar mama.
yeah. Thank you.
Which is like the best thing ever for a singer-songwriter who has vocal percussion background.
Working
So,
on it.
I'm a rock star.
You gonna give us some rapping? No.
That is not my forte.
Um,
I am not a poet.
and you know it. So yeah, that's what's sustaining me. Just this kind of gig coming up and thinking about it and
Coming
yeah,
up in
planning.
September.
I
Yeah.
know, but for me that's like
Fast approaching.
It's kind of fun. What
Right around the corner.
right around the corner? What is sustaining you?
Sunday after church, I left with Sophie and Lily, the dog, and we went to Annapolis Rock with Chantel and Julia. Hashtag Christian Temple, literally in the wild.
There you go.
And we backpacked up the mountain. And by we backpacked up the mountain, I backpacked up the mountain. Sophie carried Ted, who is Chantel's dog.
Oh.
And Chantel carried Sophie's backpack the entire way up the mountain. And then Chantel and Julia left us and went on their merry way. And Sophie and I pitched our tents. And we had a blast. You were thinking I was going to say something else, didn't you? We pitched our tents.
Wasn't saying anymore.
One tent. We had one tent. And that one tent, if you remember the weather, was it rainy here?
Yeah, it poured.
If you remember the weather on Sunday night, there was a nasty thunderstorm.
Mm-hmm.
And we were out in the wild for that. It was wonderful. And it was very peaceful until it started raining in the tent.
I was gonna say it rained outside and
And
inside.
We woke up in puddles.
It sounded like you had fun.
Sometime in the middle of the night, Sophie and I were both still a little restless through the night. And by a little restless, I mean we didn't really sleep.
Mhm.
At some point during the night, Sophie said, "Mom, everything is soaking wet." It's like, yeah, it is. That's what happens.
kid.
And then also in the middle of the night, she said, "Hey, Mom, as if she was across the room from me. Hey, Mom! She said, do you know what you call a snake that lives on the windshield? It was like 4 o'clock in the morning. She said, a windshield viper. And I was like, dude, go to sleep. Go to sleep.
I was sleeping.
Yep. So, needless to say, I took a 2-hour-long nap when I got home on Monday.
Yep.
And it was glorious.
That's good.
So,
That's good.
Yeah, it was fun. But nothing comes close to the just beauty and the breath of fresh air that is like staying the night in the woods and hanging up your food so the flies and bears don't get it. And you know, Sophie befriending a pack of Boy Scouts.
A pack of Boy Scouts.
Telling them all about something that she probably knows nothing about, but pretended she did. And it was great.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Well, good.
That's what life's about.
That's good stuff.
Rachel Pennington is joining us.
Oh, yeah.
Rachel, by the way, right now, the Indiana Fever are playing. Their next game is Thursday night, which I assume Rachel will be in Pittsburgh, as we will be in Pittsburgh. And so we should watch the game together and commiserate. And in the middle of commiserate is the word Ms, as in misery.
Well, it's not that bad.
It's not that bad.
The
They've
team-
got one win.
The team is not good, but
The Indiana Fever now has the last 2 first-round draft picks, and they're
they
struggling.
struggle.
They're
They're on the
struggling.
struggle bus. So yeah,
Christy Sides is driving that struggle bus.
yes, for a little while. Yeah. We need to get started on Talking Toast.
Sounds like shut up.
No, I didn't say shut up. I feel like we've gone through trying to mess with Fly and
So
Anyway,
this week,
yeah, this week.
we're kicking off something exciting.
we're really excited because this week we are going to do a
Take
sermon
off my socks for
series.
this.
We're going to do a sermon series, and the sermon. Can you do anything else? Like anything else?
That's the
Do you
last-
want to talk?
That's the
Okay.
last bit of clothes I'm gonna take off.
Okay. So, can't wait to see you either, Rachel. So, we are going to do a sermon series in the next few weeks. We're actually going to be away June 23rd, so it's going to be next week, or this Sunday, the next Sunday, and the next Sunday, and then we'll skip a Sunday, and then come back on the 30th. And what we're doing is a
Drum roll.
series on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And we're really, really excited about this.
And everybody just lets out a
I
collective
know.
sigh.
There's this. You think about people in our country who have just like enthralled people, or who have just found. I don't know. I've never heard anybody say something negative about Mr. Rogers.
The only like semi-negative story I've heard is the story of him leaning over to his wife in the middle of the awards story, in the middle of the awards show. It was like he was getting like a lifetime award for something, and he leaned over to his wife and he said, "I just farted."
Yeah, that's perfect.
That's the only somewhat negative thing that
That's
I've heard.
not even negative. That's hilarious.
That is
like from
human
Mr.
life.
Rogers. Yeah, that's hilarious.
Mr. Rogers farted.
I think he did. But I was trying to get to this point of that there are very few people who collectively you have that response for.
Yeah.
In fact, I can only think of 2, and it's Dolly Parton and Fred Rogers.
Oh my gosh! I think we just got our next sermon series.
Dolly is the So yes, we're talking about Fred Rogers. It is really interesting because we are Rachel is watching as well. We all are graduating from Pittsburgh Theological Seminary,
Whoop.
which is where Mr. Rogers' degree is now from. I think the school changed while he was in classes there. But yeah, so we are really excited about this.
Yeah, it's going to be so fun. So we've done this before, but we've done this at a different time and always tried to tie Mr. Rogers' memory and legacy to the lectionary text, whatever's going on in that 3-year cycle of biblical readings. And so we're choosing to do this at a different time to accentuate different aspects about him. But I would say one thing, and I think this is true for a lot of people who are who would find Mr. Rogers interesting. The things that are interesting about Mr. Rogers are his compassion, like absolute compassion and patience for people who do not deserve or owe him that kind of patience. The way that he affirmed children and parents through his television show. And then I would say the way that he paid attention and helped parents really pay attention to their own feelings and their children's feelings. And so what we want to do is highlight the way that Mr. Rogers is kind of an embodier of the way that Jesus preaches. And so that is in many ways timeless. One could theoretically take these lessons that we learn from Mr. Rogers and shape them with any time in the lectionary season. But we find it particularly interesting to do it now when the school's getting out, when parents are going to be spending more time with their children. And so here we are.
Here we are. And I think these lessons, I just spent a lot of time talking about how adults need to play. But I think these are all things that we need to hear again.
Yeah, over and over again.
Over and over again.
Yeah.
And I think that's really, really helpful. So if you're looking for something within the lectionary thing, this is something that you could fit in a lot of different places.
It is. It is, and we would be glad to help you with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you know? And I think I've told you this before. Did you know the only animal, see if anybody can guess this, the only animal that plays, the only mammal that plays into adulthood? The only mammal that plays into adulthood.
Flipper?
It's the dolphin.
That's what I thought.
It's the dolphin. I learned that on Wildcrats.
I love it.
But hello, we're mammals. And
we didn't get included in that.
We're not the ones. But Mr. Rogers, I think, ignites something within us that heals our inner child.
Yeah.
That gives that inner child who has received all kinds of messages about not playing, about being good, about whatever, insert your trauma that you're carrying. Mr. Rogers sees that inner child and says, I love you just the way you are.
Just the way you are. And that is the compassion that we're talking about.
Yeah.
And that leads into what this first Mr. Rogers series, or first session of the Mr. Rogers series is going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about compassion. Should I go first with this in the Talking Toast thing?
Tonight.
And then you go.
Yeah.
So the first thing that we're going to point out with Mr. Rogers, and when it comes to compassion, is there's this wonderful, wonderful story of Fred Rogers welcoming in the actor who plays Officer Clemens. And this man, this is taking place in the 60s. I need to have the date
68.
It was 68?
Yeah.
Taking place. It was in the middle of segregated pools being desegregated, and what is happening is people are pouring battery acid into these pools. People are just closing down the pool In my own town, there was a lake that was just shut down and drained.
Yeah.
Because because it was supposed to be desegregated, and
So wait, they'd rather drain the lake
yeah,
than swim with people
Yeah.
with more melanin than them.
yes, and
Just making that clear.
Yep. And Mr. Rogers, in the midst of all this noise, has a wading pool on his show. And in that wading pool, in that little kiddie pool, he offers Officer Clemens a spot to come and sit down beside him. Officer Clemens is an African-American actor. He comes and sits down beside him in his police uniform on the show. And he takes off his boots and takes off his socks and puts his feet in the water with Fred.
There's this great scene. The camera is on Officer Clemens and on Fred together, but then it zooms in on their feet alone.
Yeah.
And you just see feet of a white man and feet of a black man right there in the water together, and Fred is just giddy about it.
Yeah. And brilliant. This is so brilliant, the way that takes place and the way that Fred basically flips it and has and normalizes that for a generation of children.
Yeah.
This is anyway.
And their parents.
Absolutely. And I think about how probably at this time that would have caused an uproar in some ways, but it was Fred. It was someone.
Mr. Rogers, he could get away with it.
Well, not just get away with it, but uses his privilege. But his privilege is put into place because he's been so compassionate, and he's shown like I care beyond what we're all expecting. I care over and over and over again, and so So I think that leads well into what you're talking about.
Yeah. One thing I was just thinking about is that I think if that were done today, people would say, "Oh, he's being political." Nobody said Fred Rogers was being political.
They might have.
I mean, but there's
probably, but we don't have the media piece that's in there.
Right, but I think what I'm trying to say with this is that there are some things that we do that are gonna cause a stir, cause a little bit of a ruckus, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So, which brings me to this, that my text. So, what we're doing each week is pairing a scene or event from Fred Rogers to something happening in the gospel lesson. And so the gospel lesson this week is one of those lessons where multiple things happen, but it's kind of the same thing. And so Jesus is walking through the field, and his disciples are hungry, so what do? They pick the wheat and eat it. And therefore they have done work, and it is coincidentally the Sabbath. So the law says, Jewish law, you're not to do work on the Sabbath. And Jesus says, well, they were hungry. And so what I see in this text is Mark 2, for those of you who are interested in it. Mark 2, verses 23 through Mark chapter 3, verses 6. See, this is why I get all strung out on it.
Mark 2 and 3.
Mark 2 and 3, towards the end. What Jesus says is, no, like, the Sabbath was made for humans, not humans for the Sabbath. We are not to be I don't want to say enslaved, but we are not to be subservient to these laws that are in our community. When those laws are butting heads with real needs, and with compassion.
Meaning those laws should be serving others.
the law should be serving people and not hindering people from flourishing.
Yes.
And so what Jesus says is, look, my disciples needed food. That woman needed to be healed. And so he names all of these things that he's done on the Sabbath that have been considered work. And to me, what he's lifting up is that at the end of the day, compassion is what's the word I'm looking for? Oh my gosh, I'm having a brain fart. Compassion is more important than keeping the law. And you think about like the protests that happened in the 60s. For instance, whether we call it a protest or not, Fred Rogers putting his feet in the water with a black man in the midst of all of this happening, it was a protest. And you think about those things happening, and you think about all of the laws that were broken in order to draw our attention to the compassion that we needed to have. And so to me, where I'm going with this is that we like to draw boundaries, and those boundaries have laws attached to them. And what Jesus and I think Fred teach us is that those boundaries and laws are absolutely subservient to the law of compassion.
There you go.
Because it's that compassion that actually creates space, not the boundaries and borders and laws themselves.
Yes.
I mean, I think we like to think about, especially in the 21st century, we like to think about the way that our borders create space, our boundaries create space. Like, we are Americans, and our boundaries are, our southern boundary and our northern, whatever. But inside of those boundaries, freedom reigns and yada, yada, yada. First Amendment, Second Amendment, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, those boundaries are seeking to create a neighborhood. But what creates a neighborhood more effectively than those boundaries is compassion.
And whenever, and then there needs to be pushback too, whenever those things, those boundaries that are in place are not creating compassion, are not fostering compassion.
Or stifling compassion. Yep.
Yes. Those boundaries have to be pushed back upon. And that's what we see from Fred. That's what we see from Martin Luther King Jr. That's what we see from Gandhi. That's what we see from Mother Teresa. That's what, I mean, you keep going down the list. Dorothy Day. They're pushing back on those boundaries, the things that are supposed to be the way it's done, and pushing back. Yeah.
Because they've realized that those boundaries are stifling compassion. And it is the compassion that is going to build the neighborhoods.
Yes.
And not anything else.
Yeah. Or else, is it really a neighborhood?
Is it really a neighborhood without compassion?
There you go. Well.
All right. Here we go, baby.
Neighborhood without compassion. I've got so much more to say about this.
I have
really
so much more.
This is good.
So
tune in on Sunday.
Tune in on Sunday. We're going to be continuing these thoughts on Sunday. We're going to be continuing these thoughts next Tuesday. And we're going to keep building on this. And we hope that whenever you're tuning in, that you can glean something from this that is meaningful to your own journey.
That's right. Wherever that journey is. It's
or
not
whenever.
Necessarily, whenever, wherever.
Whenever,
I think that's the thing about that we hope Talk and Toast is. Yes, it's helpful for thinking about the lectionary thing, but really, what we're hoping is that something pops out of there that is helpful in your daily life. Like maybe there's something. Maybe we just reminded you about Fred Rogers, and you're thinking, you know what, I need to go back and watch some Fred Rogers. And the answer is
Yes,
yes,
you do.
Yeah, absolutely.
We just did the same thing.
We did. Yeah, you beat me to it. This is good. Well, friends, we've done a lot of talking, and we are so glad that we could all be together tonight.
Yeah.
And continue. We'll be watching the comments. Continue to let us know what this stirs in you. It doesn't have to be tonight. It could be later on, and we look forward to connecting with you.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So at the end of every night together, we share toast. And
That's right.
So if you have a drink nearby, no matter what it is, we invite you to raise your glass or cup or mason jar or whatever it may be. Water bottle. Stanley cup. And may you, as you go from this place, remember that law is to be subservient to compassion. Compassion is the thing that draws us together.
And may you continually find that neighborhood that values you and values your voice, because that's the kind of neighborhood that we all need to be building.
Cheers, y'all.
friends.
And maybe
Cheers.
maybe I should add as a tertiary toast. May you not have horseflies in your basement, and if you do, may you remember that you can touch the ceiling.
Possibly. It's such a good feeling to know you're alive. It's such a happy feeling. We'll see you, friends. See you soon, friends.
Bye, everybody.
I think I'm gonna go take a nap.
Otherwise known as a sleep.
That's right. I'm gonna go to sleep. Yeah, we'll see you soon, and then some of the friends who are on here, we'll see you in person really soon. So that's really great.